When I think about talking about technical aspects of playing, I'm always reminded of what my father did when he was teaching me to fly. I was too young to drive a car, but he was teaching me to fly. And on the instrument panel of a 1948 Aranca Champion, you can look it up on Google, it's a tandem seating training plane, and the student sits in front, and there's a stick and pedals and whatnot. Anyway, on the instrument panel, he wrote in big letters KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid. And one time when we were flying, I was flying plane. He was behind me, and I was very tense. And he said, "Remember, Butch," which is what he called me. The plane wants to fly. Let it. Don't fight it. And I think about those things whenever I think about a technical approach to the instrument, because everything that he taught me had to do with gentle pressures and very small, slow movements and prepared movements, and guiding rather than strength and force to get something done. So that for me is a guiding light. It always has been, and that's, I was 14 years old maybe. First thing about playing is general conditioning and stretching and being aware of your body. Shoulder circles, arm circles, stretching of the hands and fingers, just general things. In addition to that, the stretching for flexibility, you do need to have general strength. And for that, any massage therapist can give you wonderful exercises with or without TheraBands to target areas of the body which are specifically vulnerable with string playing, particularly cello playing. And those areas are the back, the coccyx, the rhomboids, and the trapezius, and shoulders, wrists, hand, and they can show you stretching. They can show you strength moves that are very simple, and you really should be aware of it. You really should do it. One thing about cello playing is the development of the body is asymmetric, and so there's a tendency to curve the spine to the right. So you need to target things. Otherwise, what happens is you have these funny little pains in the right side of the back and things of that sort, or the right shoulder, or a leg goes to sleep. So it's important to be really aware of your body, really strengthen, but not lift weights necessarily. I know Dottie DeLay, famous violin teacher, always told her students to avoid lifting weights. I wouldn't say that, but I would minimize it because it tends to bunch muscles and so forth, and I'm not sure that they really flow like a swimmer's muscles. But above all, there should be some physical conditioning. Walk, run if you can, swim, do anything to kind of keep moving so that you are basically physically comfortable. Eat well, sleep well, as much as you can. As far as the posture at the instrument is concerned, I think it's very important that one be aware that the spine has to be stacked. And the way to get that to happen is to have the feet back inside the knees on the balls of the feet with the heels out. This tends to roll the pelvis forward without crimping the coccyx. And this is really very important because it allows you to have a nice flat back. It allows your shoulders to be geometry-wise available for the bow and available for the fingerboard. Other things, it's a good idea at first to locate the upper bow of the cello somewhere around the sternum. Above the sternum, in general, is not such a hot idea. A lot of people play that way, but it tends to lift the right arm and tends to rotate the left arm back, maybe farther than natural. Something that you have to view carefully. Each of us is different, and the body is infinitely capable of sort of compromising or making up for things. What you want to try to do is to make the seating arrangement as advantageous for your body as you possibly can, so that everything is sort of downhill. At the cello itself, as far as the right side is concerned, it's very important. The vulnerable places for the right side are the base joint of the right thumb, where you can get basal arthritis from over leveraging. So if your thumb is too far behind the hand, the first finger is too far away from the thumb, you get into some difficulties where that's concerned. And when I was a kid, I was a muscle player. And I'm living with some of that right now, despite the fact that I compensated for it years ago. So, when you're thinking about the bow grip, if you hold the bow in the left hand and simply set the second finger on the corner of the ferrule, half on the hair and half on the ferrule, and the inside corner of the right thumb against where the frog and the stick meet, that's a pretty good locator. Then just drape the other fingers around, the tip of the fourth finger on the side of the frog, and the first finger wrapped around at the end joint. Then if you simply set the bow on the D string, rotate, you have your basic hand position and basic arm position. Arm down, relaxed, and so forth. So this is the basic start as far as the bow is concerned. And when you're playing, what you try to do is you try to distort the relationship between the hand and the bow absolutely as little as possible. So the right wrist compensates for any change between the alignment of the forearm and the alignment of the bow. As far as the bowing is concerned, it's a good idea to practice short strokes with a metronome, maybe at 60, and simply bow less than half of the bow and use the upper arm as a pendulum so that the arm is moving a little bit farther than the hand is moving. And you can use different strings and so forth and just make yourself bowing patterns. After that, maybe segmented bow strokes, where you use upper arm and forearm, and then forearm. It's important as you're exercising in the morning, and as you do things early on, that you do things probably in the lower half of the bow and not too fast and not too loud. So using examples such as so that you can exercise the movement of the upper arm. Now, the upper arm moves in a kind of a counterclockwise direction. And one of the common things that happens is people injure areas of the rotator cuff, commonly supraspinatus, which is back here, which raises the arm the first 18 degrees or something like that. And they injure that by overcoming inertia by simply yanking on the bow. If you simply allow the right arm to drop back this way to begin the bow stroke, that completely eliminates this forcefully overcoming inertia and can, over a period of time, eliminate some rather painful stuff in the right shoulder. So it's important as you think about this bowing to think about that, overcoming inertia, and also think about moving the bow around its center of mass. So as you move from place to place with the bow, instead of moving it around with the grip being the center of the motion, you move it around so that the bow begins to feel weightless. So in terms of playing chords, you move the bow around its center of gravity rather than simply forcing it to go down. We'll talk about this probably a little bit later. As you think about the bow then, the distinction between the upper arm pendular action and the forearm linear action is really very important. When we think about the left hand, it's a matter of setting up the hand so that the thumb is related mostly to the second finger, and that the first finger is free, but that the balance of the hand be such that it's a little pronated, and you use the weight of the arm to put the fingers down. And the fingers need to be actuated a little bit like a hammer, so that you retract the finger and put it down. And you put it down in such a way that you sort of tap and bounce, much as if you're feeling the double escapement in a Steinway grand, where you lift it up a 1/16 an inch off of the key bed and it still sustains. So all of these motions that you make with the fingers, with the bow arm and so forth, are motions which, as easily as possible, overcome inertia and use the minimum amount of power and pressure at first, so that you take advantage of momentum. In a later, as we develop this more, we'll talk more about shifting and things of that sort.